Welcome back, everybody, to the Bling Bling Jam YouTube station. Today, I have no other, backed by popular demand, Mr. Ken Stillman, who's back at the Bling Bling Jam. Of course, he's a fixture at our event. We did interview him last year, so you guys will see that on this YouTube station. But for the folks who have never seen him before or heard his story, we're going to talk about it and some updates, of course, and talking about Bling Bling 2025, of course. So, with that said, I'm going to remove my pin and welcome Ken to the YouTube station.
Well, thank you, Steve. Gosh, it's just a blessing to be able to talk and share with everyone out there, with all of the people that come to Bling Bling. It's a beautiful, beautiful convention. I really enjoy it.
Thank you. And you're very much part of it. And thank you for doing this. But Ken, for the other folks watching this YouTube station that may not know you, that might be new in balloons or whatever, just let them know, first of all, your name, where you're from, what your balloon business is, and then tell them your balloon story, how you got started, and I'll be quiet.
Okay. 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 My name is Ken Stillman. I started the late 80s and the early 90s. I took a clown class, I think, in 89. And um, by the 90s, I was already uh, writing books. And the reason I wrote the books was because no one would even consider me to teach at their conventions um, unless I had something that nobody else could do. I had gone to a lot of conventions and competed and took first place or second place, third place, or whatever. Sometimes I just failed miserably because I don't follow instructions very well, and I heard that that can happen at Bling Bling. So make sure you follow the instructions.
That's for all of us, right?
But but anyhow, um, I thought that I was really good. There was a man back at that time. His name was Suds, and he I had developed this. Actually, I paid someone to teach me how to make Bart Simpson on a skateboard. But I always wanted to do things grandioso and stuff. And so that was all done out of 260s. And I thought, well, what if I went to the 350s or I made these, the head bigger and I did all of these things. And so I made Bart Simpson. And so Suds says, well, have you ever seen a motorcycle? I said, no, I hadn't. And all I had known is the whole balloon world up until that time to me was just one balloon creations. And so I had created this Bart Simpson that took many balloons. Um, and so he showed me a motorcycle. I couldn't believe it, but it was a multi. Many people use that design today, but it was a multi-balloon motorcycle. And I put Bart Simpson on it, and I thought I would take first place at the World Convention. But I didn't because I didn't listen to instructions. The judges were blown away. They said, "Man, you got the best balloon ever, but you just didn't follow instructions." And
Right.
so anyhow, that started me off. And so then at that convention, I met a man named Jerry Giovinco,
Oh, yeah.
and he he was mind-boggling. I had never seen Disney characters before or any of those things, and he made all the Disney characters. He made all the Warner Brother characters and stuff, and he had them in these books. Since then, he's had to get rid of those books because he did a really nice book that ran around $30, and it was available at all the not balloon, at all the bookstores. I mean, in order to not infringe on copyrights, he had to take everything that was Warner Brothers or Disney out of his book.
Hmm.
I didn't want that to die. And so I created a book called the Cartoon Balloon Encyclopedia, where you could take um, these uh, preforms, like you'd take a muzzle. It could be a rabbit muzzle and all it was two loops for the cheek, a loop for the bottom lip, and maybe two balloons for the nose. It could be a rabbit, or it could be a mouse, or it could be Mickey Mouse, or it could be a horse, a dragon, all of these different muzzles. I did 19 muzzles, and then I put them on these head shapes, which I created at the time. There were 9 shapes. I've added since then, but not in books. So these heads and these 19 muzzle shapes, you could put together and you could create anything. So then but there was also birds, and so I made bird beaks, and I made 6 different bird beaks. There was a bird beak for a pelican. There was a bird beak for a duck. There was a bird beak for a roadrunner, and a bird beak for uh, a Tweety bird. There were all these different kind of bird beaks, and you could interchange them on any one of the heads and anything. So you could create any type of cartoon creation that you ever wanted. And so that was called the Cartoon Balloon Encyclopedia, and
Wow.
so and that's available today on balloonclick.com.
Perfect.
So anyhow, with all of these different things that you could make, I started at that time. I created the book, but I was also doing all of these creations inside a restaurant.
Oh yeah. This is the business side of things, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I started doing everything I did was a cartoon creation, and the heads only took like 5 minutes, of your time, and then I would put them on a hitchhiker, or I'd put them on a roller skater, or all of these things that only take 2 minutes to put together.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess Disney heard about it.
Oh.
So, so one night I was working, and this man called me over and he says, "Could you make my daughter uh, a balloon dog?" And I said, "Yeah." But I didn't just make balloon dogs. That was just not enough. So I began to make a Pluto. And I got done with Pluto and I handed it to him. And he goes, "Aren't you afraid of handing these things out?" I said, "No." He says, "But these are copyrighted characters." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Aren't you afraid that Disney will sue you?" And I said, "Oh, that would be the greatest thing that ever happened to me." I said, "Can you imagine Disney suing a balloon maker in a restaurant?" I said,
Right.
that would be like David and Goliath. I would become the most famous person in the world." And he thought for a while. He goes, "Well," he said, "so I started telling him how balloons had taken me all over the world, all of these different things. I started making these, and pretty soon I was invited to Europe. Leo Verlinden
Right.
uh, saw my stuff at one of the very first balloon convention, worldwide balloon conventions, and then so I went there. I got to tour Europe. I've been through.
Millennium Jam, right?
What's that?
Millennium Jam?
Yeah, the Millennium
Yeah.
Jam. And so, and people were fighting over who was going to have me. They had the Millennium Jam, then they had this other jam, the Hamburg Jam, all of
Right.
these things. And I was an electrical contractor, so um, boy, I'm just we're going into the rabbit hole, but
I
uh,
know. It's
I
okay.
didn't I didn't know what to do because when I was at the first T Jam, a man named Leo Verlinden, who owned IBS, International Balloon Services, in Europe. He owned one in Paris and he owned one in Belgium. And he invited me over. And there was another man from Germany and Hartmut, and he wanted me to come to Germany. So I as an electrical contractor, I was just going throwing out stuff. I don't know, this means I got to take a week off of work or whatever it is to fly to Germany, to fly to Paris or whatever. So anyhow, Leo kept calling, and back in that day, we didn't have, um, we had voicemail, a recorder, and but we didn't have anything like the phones today.
Right.
And we also had pagers. Well, anyhow, Leo kept calling me, and I didn't know how to answer, so I would never call him back. And a month went by, 2 months goes by, 3 months goes by, 4 months go by. He keeps calling and calling. And finally, he called on a day that I picked up the line. And he goes, Ken. And I said, yeah. He said, do you want to come to Europe or not? And he was really upset with me. I said, yeah, Leo, I want to come. He says, well, then what is it? What's keeping you from talking to me? I said, Leo, my wife. He goes, your wife wants to come? I said, yeah. He says, is that it? I said, yeah. He goes, done deal. I said, oh, me and my wife get to go to Europe. This is great. And he
Yeah.
says, how much money do you want per week? Well, I've been thinking about it. Talked to my brothers and everything. They were going, you need 2,000 a week. Back then, I was the very first one, so I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But I
Right.
know that I would lose $1,000
Yeah.
of my own pay in order to come. So I told him $1,000, and he says, "Done deal." I thought, wow. Then his next question was, "How long can you stay in Europe?" And I was thinking in my mind back then, twist and balloon, hey, I could stay for the rest of my life. I
Yeah.
didn't say
Right.
that. I
Right.
didn't say that. I said, Leo, as long as you want me to stay there, I'll stay
Sure.
1, 2, 3 weeks, whatever you want. He says, okay, you got it. So anyhow, that started me off. That got me going to all over Europe. And then, gosh, where was I headed with
Well,
all this?
we kind of went all over the place, but this is
Yeah,
good. This is great. I wanted you to say what you're saying. You were on a roll, but
yeah,
what I wanted to bring it back to was okay. You started doing this contest. You started doing balloons, being a clown, from being an
yeah,
electrician, and again, we talked about this before, but for the viewers watching, how did
yeah.
you start your first balloon, and when was your first paid gig? Was it the restaurant? How did that happen?
Oh no, no. Sheesh. I it started with face painting, but
Right.
once I learned how to do balloons, when I started before I went to any of these conventions and became famous,
Yeah.
I um, I asked somebody to teach me how to do balloons because he came to one of our clown conventions. His
Yeah.
name was Doney, and
Yeah.
and he had mentioned that his business did $300,000 that year. And I was thinking, $300,000, I've never made that in my life. I didn't do that as an electrician, even though we had $1 million jobs. By the time you split it up, paid everybody and stuff, you're lucky to get 50,000 out of it. I mean,
Yeah.
so 300,000, so that's the thing that goes, oh, okay, well, maybe, because prior to that, I thought balloon twisting was really stupid. But when I heard 300,000, my ears perked up and I thought, okay,
Yeah.
teach me how to teach me how to make balloons. He says, well, what do you want to know? And I said, I want the popular thing back then was Ninja Turtles,
Oh yeah.
unicorns, and Bart Simpson. I said, those three balloons, you teach me that, I'll have it. So
Sure.
anyhow, Dooney taught me that. And then what he did is he started hiring me because he had taught me how to do it. He knew I could do it. His only thing was is that I had to learn how to inflate by mouth. I couldn't use. We didn't have pumps back then, or I mean, we had the hand pumps, and
Yeah.
that's it. So he says, I don't want you dependent on that because if it breaks, you got to inflate. You got to keep working. And I said, okay. So I mean, he paid like $35 to go out somewhere, and I thought that was great. And then as
Yeah.
time went on, uh, we went to different classes. I went to a class by Paula Biggio. She taught a class on clown camp on the road, and she taught us At that time, my wife and I were making $35 when we would go out as clowns.
Sure.
But this Paula Biggio, she said, don't sell your stuff for an hour. There's not enough hours in the day. Sell half-hour increments. I said, really? Yes. She said, now with that half-hour increment, you can undercut all of your competition
Right.
just by a little bit, not by much. If everybody was going for $75, or at that time maybe $40, then I would back off 40, make it 35.
Right.
So anyhow, at that time I think I was making about $45 an hour.
Sure.
So what I did is I backed off and made it $40 for the half hour. But then the second half hour, you would charge one third of the price. So if let's say you charged I picked 40, that was a wrong number. I'll say 30, but it wasn't 30. It
You
was,
give them a better deal. Yeah.
yeah. So anyhow, then you charge 3x for your first half hour, and your second half hour is just 1x.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what that would do, it puts in the customer's mind. I didn't know this, but all of a sudden your customer goes, I want you for the whole hour. Okay. So now instead of, $40, I'm making $55 or $60 for that first hour, which nobody was making at that time.
Exactly.
And so then the people that were hiring me, they said, well, we want you to go out. We want you to do this job. And, there's $45. And I said, nah, I said, I can get $65 for that. No one can get 65. This was back in the early days. Nobody can get 65. I said, that's what Julie and I get. We get 65 an hour. How do you do that? So then I explained the whole thing, and it just raised everything.
Yeah. So
the
how
other,
soon? Oh, sorry. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
the other thing that Paula Biggio said, which was very, very important, is this. You need something that makes you the professional. And I was tired of the yellow page calling, how much are you? Well, I'm 65. Oh, I can get one for 40.
Yeah.
And then hang up and go to the next one.
Yes.
Oh gosh, this is really, so what can I do? What can I do to capture this? Well, Paula Biggio also had this in mind. We were clowns, but it doesn't matter if you're clowns or you're an entertainer. I look at Michael Bay, and that man he's a pirate. He's this, he's that, he's whatever that machinery is that he wears on his head and stuff. He is, and that's what sells him.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a clown, it'll sell you, but your costume sells you. Your costume's your most valuable asset. So what you do is you go down and you get pictures, photographs, and just print 200 or 300 of them. That's the way I did. I had thousands of pictures. So when somebody would call me on the phone and they go, well, how much are you? You don't even begin with how much you are.
Yeah.
They say, how much are you? He says, before we talk price, I have a gift for your birthday child. You do? Yes. I'm going to give you a hand-signed autograph of a picture of my wife and I.
Right.
And I'm going to put happy birthday to so-and-so.
Which is perfect.
And I put at that time, a 13-cent stamp. Now it's like
sure
65 or 75 cents. But I'd drop that in the mail. I mean, just as soon as we were done, that kid would get that. Well, It didn't matter now. They were already getting that gift. It was coming in the mail. And it didn't matter if she hung up on me and she went to the next one, because she got that kid got that.
Exactly.
This is who I want. It's the kid who tells the parent
correct
what he wants. So anyhow, so this is the most powerful thing you can do, is send that photograph of yourself off.
Yeah. Well, I just want to interrupt you for a second and
Okay.
thank you so much for sharing that to everybody watching this YouTube station. You
Yeah.
know, those are the things that different scenarios that we all did back in the day, and that's selling yourself, right? And so
Right.
many people today don't realize that when you're an entertainer, you're in business and you need to learn how to sell yourself. And you
Right.
obviously had some mentors and some stuff that you learned these ideas from and trial and error and
Yeah.
discussing it. And a lot of people today, Ken, as you know, they have websites and they think the
Right.
websites are just it. It's like, it's important too, but like, I know like Nick and yourself, myself, people that just from talking, we have business, saying answering the phone, like you had to answer the phone with the yellow pages. You had no way around it. That's what it
Right.
was,
Right.
but we live, especially if I'm a parent, right? I don't care years ago or today. I'd want to know the entertainer. I wouldn't want to personally, I wouldn't book it online. I want to hear them on the phone to know that they're safe around my kids. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think that's so I don't think that these skills and this idea that you're sharing or what you've done is
Yeah.
outdated by any means. It's more
Right.
important today than ever. But anyway, I just wanted to interrupt you on that. That was great.
Yeah. If I were doing it today, I would still have on my website a free
Yes.
a birthday card from such and
Yes.
such, and there's different things. There's a couple books out there that they're outdated, but still think that um, I still think they're
You're
important.
keeping it
One of them
today. Yeah.
is guerrilla advertising.
Yes. Marketing. Yep.
So so to guerrilla market or to guerrilla advertise, you're using what you would do is you would use a combination of your website and the marketing tools. And by that, you try to figure out what you can do for the person. The other thing is that once you create a clientele, and that's what you get by getting their names. When
Get
you
your
get
list. Yes.
yeah, you're making a list of
Yeah.
everybody that calls you. You've just sent off that thing, but you've also reproduced it and put it inside your database.
Yes.
So every year they get a birthday card. Every year they get a
Exactly.
picture or they get something. I mean, it's a month before their birthday, you send them
And
something.
who does that? Barely anybody. Barely
Probably
anybody did it
nobody.
back then, and barely nobody does it today. So,
Right.
yeah.
So so this uh, and I also unknowingly I went to a church where the pastor loved clowns.
Yeah.
He loved them so much he told Julian once he found we went to his church for 2 years without him knowing we were clowns.
Oh,
Once he
wow.
found, once he found out we were clowns, he wanted us every week to show up as clowns. And I thought, well, that's yeah. I, I can remember Easter sunrise service. We were down at the pier. He goes, Ken, I want you and Julie to come in as clowns. I said, no, you can't do that. I said, this is Easter sunrise.
Yeah.
People, and we're outdoor at a pier. If two clowns come walking up, every eye is going to be off of you and onto us. I said, you can't do it. He goes, well, can't you put a cloak over yourself or something? I mean, that's how bad he wanted us. I said, I could get there after the service is over, but no, you can't do it. And it's the wrong day of the week to do it. But that's how much he loved clowns.
Wow.
But his church was growing, thousands and thousands of
Yeah.
parishioner people coming in,
Yeah.
and uh, and I didn't know it, but we were there every week. We were doing it as a ministry, but everybody saw us. They wanted all the kids that were there that we were taking care of. They wanted us there for their birthdays.
Mm-hmm.
So Julie and I, we had parties that just went on and on and on. Started from Saturday morning and went through all the way through Sunday evening, and we were doing clown shows,
Sure.
uh, and and that was powerful. Now, the more powerful you have,
Mm.
and pretty soon schools were asking us to go. they would hear things. People that were teachers came to the church and they saw that. The most important thing is that you're connected in a group that can make you who you are.
Or
You're not
promote
going
you.
to do it
Yeah.
on your own, and you're not going to do it with advertising. You're going to do it with a
Yes.
mixed group. I didn't know that at the time, but
Yes.
I fell into it. So
Yes.
then
And for
I
people watching this, Ken, I just want to interrupt you. Like that could be the churches, it could be the temples, it could be the mommies groups, like the mommy forums. Uh,
right
I've gotten connected in there, and it's been amazing. One tells another, it's all over. Once you're in, you're in. So,
libraries.
yep,
I heard so many. I didn't do many libraries, but I did a few. And the thing of it is once you have this under your belt, you're so powerful because all of a sudden you come to church, you go, hey, I'm going to be at this restaurant at this night. Well, what happens? Boom, all the people
yeah,
show up at the restaurant to
exactly.
see
To see you
you.
because you're
Okay,
the
what
attraction, right?
what did you just do? You've made
Yeah,
that restaurant
busy.
something at that time. And I remember a guy calling me. It was during the recession, early '90s recession. He calls me up and he says, "Hi, this is so and so from Bull Weevils." And I said, "Yeah, I heard that your place burned down." And he goes, "Yeah, but we got it rebuilt and we're trying to get it established again. We're looking for a balloon twister." And I said, "Well, I'll tell you what." I said, "I know you're hurting and I'm hurting. And this is where networking works so well.
Yes,
You find somebody that he has a need, you have a need." And I said, I need I need $75 to come out. I know that's a lot. That's more than any of the balloon twisters are asking because they get that and then they make up on tips, but I gotta have $75. And he says, okay. And I said, and I don't only want $75, but I will increase your business. I will triple your business in 2 months. He goes, how are you going to triple my business? I said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to give me a free Coke, a free hamburger, and a free French fry.
right.
And he goes, what, like a coupe? I said, no, nothing. It's not buy one, get one. It's a free one. And I said, I'm tired of the yellow page. They go to the next person. I want to be able to offer somebody who said, well, what can you do for 75, for the $75? Well, I'm going to take every child at the birthday party, I'm taking them out to lunch for free. Bull Weevils for a free hamburger, free Coke. And you don't have to buy anything. It's free, completely free. And so I sold it. I said, these kids are not going to get down to Bull Weevils on their own. They're going to bring two parents and then maybe two more parents with their kids. I said, this is you. I said, within 2 months, you will double or triple the amount of people that come to your restaurant. And so he agreed to it. But what the kids had to do for me, what I wanted, I wanted their names. I wanted their birthday.
Yeah.
I wanted their age. I wanted their phone number. I couldn't get that. As I looked at clowns, I thought they were all pedophiles.
Right.
And
Some of
so,
them are. But yeah,
well, as a construction worker, I
yeah,
would never
of
be
course.
a clown. So now I'm in this peculiar situation where I can't go to a birthday party and say, "Hey, Johnny, let me have the names of all your friends. Let me have their phone number and their addresses and their birthdays."
Right.
Get that. But I made coupons. Okay. It was to join the
Yeah.
Flash and Jewels Club. That was my wife's name.
Yep.
And they would come in and they would fill out the
Yep.
name of the child, the birthday, the phone number, the address, everything. And they would hand it to him. So
Right.
I would get there on Wednesday nights. He would hand me a stack of addresses.
Yeah.
So I had them.
Hugely valuable.
Then he would give me $75 on
Right.
top of it.
Right.
And then I filled his restaurant.
Right. Can I just intervene,
Oh,
say something? So, people that are watching this, when being an entertainer, you're in business like every other business. A lot of entertainers don't believe that, but you're a business person. This is
yeah,
such a great example, Ken, that you're sharing with everybody because we have to have a situation where we can showcase ourselves. Okay. And a lot of times that's at a discount, or you're going to be advertising on Google ads or whatever. It's going to cost you a lot of money. I was just chatting with somebody on Facebook and they said they made so much money this month, but they spent so much money. I was like, okay, well, that's great. But perfect examples of how the internet with personality and thought process, you're in business. So, what
right,
are you going to do? Being an entertainer, we don't really have to dish out all that much money when we get creative because obviously the restaurant, I'm assuming, was during the week and not the weekend, which is your slower time, right?
right,
You
right,
offer a
right,
lower amount, but you
right.
never know what you're going to get out of it. And what you're going to get out of it, and I did that too, is the addresses, the database. That's huge, for people. So when we want this station and Bling Bling Jam, as you know, Ken, we want people to make money because if they make money and they understand that they're treating like a business and they're gonna educate their clients as to what we're really worth. But this is such good information that you're sharing, Ken. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. That's huge, and I love that. But that's great. That's great. Sorry.
Well, that's all right. One of the things that he asked me not to do, he says, okay, I'll let you do it because your birthday party is about 12 to 15 kids. So, okay, you can give them free hamburger, free Coke, and free French fry.
Yeah,
Well, I went to church. I got a church of 1,000. They all got them. I'm thinking, what does it matter?
yeah,
I mean, he could have got mad at me, but he didn't because all it did was bring people in. It just
yeah,
unbelievable. And then he said, and definitely don't hand them out at school. Well, I went to school assembly afterwards. They all got, if they joined the Flash and Jewels Club, they could go to Bull Weevils for free. That guy had so many people coming into his restaurant. It was a it was a different time. It was really a different time. But you
yeah.
could still do it today. There's all kinds of things to do.
Oh,
Don't look
sure.
at let's say a florist. They may look like your competition, but you don't want them to be a
Oh,
competition. So figure out a way that it's
a
a
partner.
win-win
Right.
for them to advertise you for free. Basically, the most valuable real estate inside a store. You'll never get this real estate at Walmart.
Nope.
Walmart, the most valuable real estate at Walmart is while the mother's waiting in line, you got all the candy bars, all the all the stuff for the kids. They
Yeah.
want this, they'll cry if they don't get it. Okay.
Right.
That's the real estate you want. You're not
Right.
going to get it at Walmart. So go to different places.
Yeah, and I always say that too. Like the florist is such a great place because they're going to go in there for either a wedding, a bar mitzvah, or christening, whatever it might be. It's an occasion. Like the bakeries, I'm a big on those too. So you partner with the or party stores. You partner with them. So that's huge. Ken. The other thing is, and everybody listen to this too. So we all make mistakes, and we all have
Yeah.
to learn how to talk to people. It's called trial and error. And you do
Yes.
that by A, doing it, making the mistakes, B, being around the right people like a Ken Stillman, who's a huge resource of information willing to share, who lives a life of abundance like we do at Bling Bling Jam, right? And on top of that, read some business books, expand
Oh,
your mind. Okay, just because you're an entertainer doesn't mean because everybody complains, as you know, Ken, they don't have no money. It's like I don't understand that. Even good times, bad times, parties are recession proof, you know what I'm saying? But how are you going to get your business? Kind of like what you did. And by the way, everybody listen to this too. I'm not asking Ken all the exact questions from last time because it's still on this YouTube station and you can listen to that. But this is good, some new information here about Ken's story. So it's great. And he's sharing some really good tidbits. So thank you, Ken. Another mouthful.
books are really important. I was on my way to China, but I had come up with this idea of global balloon deliveries, and
Oh, yeah,
I wanted to pitch it to
I remember
Qualitex.
that.
So I only had a certain time. I called up Qualitex, and believe it or not, the more if you write a book or you it makes you an authority. I didn't know I was an
Yes.
authority. I was just writing a book,
Ken, you've
so
always been an authority, but yeah.
but it came from
Yeah.
writing the books. So anyhow, I called up. Now, do you think you could get the owner of Qualitex to get you online? It was like three
Right.
days before I was leaving. I called up. I said I'd like um, to talk to Ted Blamas. Well, and they got the secretaries that don't let you talk to. And I said, it's important. I want to show him something. And she
Yeah.
goes, well, if he's interested, he'll give you a call back. So my phone rings, call up. Ted calls me and said, yeah, fly out to uh, Pioneer and, we'll go out to lunch and we'll talk about it. And I said, okay.
Right.
So um, I had rented a, not rented, but I had paid for a suit, which was a lot of money and
Sure.
just just a lot of stuff because I felt that you had to invest in yourself in order to present yourself well.
Hmm.
So on the way out to Qualitex, uh, at the bookstore, this is what Steve said, read some books.
Hmm.
I saw a book called The Top Performer.
Hmm.
And I thought it was what do you call it? There's real things and then there's
Yeah.
there's
Like
a
not really that it could help you in or kind of like
yeah,
a fantasy.
it's
Yeah.
like what's a phony story? What do they call those? A book that's
Like a fantasy or like or like a oh I know what you're talking about. Like a tip my tongue. But yeah, not fiction.
okay.
Fiction.
It's fiction.
Yeah,
Okay. There's fiction and nonfiction books. Well,
correct.
I was really into I never would read a fiction book because I just wanted it. But this time I thought, I want to see what this has to say. Uh,
Yeah.
the Top Performer. So this book was all about this guy that would get dressed every day. He'd put on his white gloves, he'd put on his tuxedo, and he had like 10 of them. He never went out in public without this appearance.
Yeah.
And so when people saw him, they knew what he was. And this is what I was talking about, the costume and stuff.
Vlad was just talking about this on his interview, by the way. He mentioned that. You're gonna like his interview. But anyway, go on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So anyhow, he would do this every day, and he was a street performer. So he would put out a rope, and whatever was on this side, that was a performer, the
Hmm.
top performer. And then whoever was on the other side, they were the audience.
Hmm.
But every once in a while, you always get a heckler or somebody who steps onto your stage.
Yes.
Now, in this book, it said, now the top performer doesn't let this bother him. This,
Correct.
you just have to be ready for it.
Go with the
Instead,
flow. Right.
he says the top performer welcomes the problem
Right.
onto the stage.
Right.
And so I was, oh, wow, So he talked about how he would bring a child up that was being rebellious or whatever, bring him up on stage with it, make him your
Part of
helper.
it.
You make him part of it, he becomes the hero. And you've just diffused a whole problem. But if you let it get to you,
Yeah.
you're it's over for you as a performer. So the top performer always takes the bad things in life, brings them in, and makes it
And
part of
that's
it.
how they learn and get better at the performances. What is it the Les Brown always says? What's his quote? He says, practice makes what? And people will say, what is it? What does it mean, Ken?
Perfect. Yeah.
No, he says
Right.
no. It only makes improvement because we haven't bettered our best yet because we're still around, so we can always do better. So, and that makes total sense to me. But that's what you're saying, Ken, with the
Yeah.
with that performance. That's what you're saying. So,
Yeah.
and they didn't get good until they learned how to adjust to those things. And that's how, just like making a sales call or calling the restaurant like you did, or
Yeah.
people that they don't know how to talk to people, they don't know, they just give in quickly to their pushback, if you will, as to why not to work with you. You have to keep thinking and thinking as to what's in it for them and like you said, how it's going to be good for both of you guys to come together. And too many people are thinking just about them, you know what I'm saying? And they don't
Right.
think about the full picture, you know what I'm saying, as to how merging together is going to work. But that's great. I love this. This is a great call.
And so I was gonna give them a pitch for Global Balloon Deliveries. I had created this little advertisement that was on my laptop that I could show them, but I couldn't show it to everybody. But Ted loved it so much, he called his entire staff. Everyone was there. I mean, we were sitting
Really?
in,
Wow.
yeah, we were all sitting down. And so he said, Ken, I want you to show everybody. And I thought, well, how am I going to show everybody? I just have a laptop, this isn't going well. But prior to flying there, I put it on the internet so that anyone could get
Oh,
to it.
really?
And
Wow.
I purchased the URL. It was called Qualitex Balloon Arranger.
Oh, wow.
So we were there, and he goes, okay, how can everybody get there? Everybody's got their laptops, everybody, they got the big screen up there and stuff. I said, okay, first thing I want you to do, I said, go to qualitexballoonaarranger.com.
Right.
Okay, this is where that book helped me out so much.
Yeah, I bet.
Ted looked at me with anger in his eyes,
Uh-huh.
and he said, Ken,
You got the name.
you purchased a URL with the name Qualitex in it.
Right.
And I knew that that was the boy stepping over the line, the rope. And I could either make this him part of the show
Yeah.
or I could let it get to me.
Right.
And if I hadn't read the book, I would have let it got to me.
Exactly. This is great. Go
But
ahead.
instead, I
It's great.
pulled him in. I said, yes, I did, Ted. I
Yeah.
purchased a URL with your name in it.
Uh-huh.
And I said, and if you want to buy it from me,
Exactly.
you'll have to you'll have to give me $10 because that's what it cost me.
Wow.
And it diffused it. It
Yeah.
just was
Yeah.
over. And so
Yeah.
everybody
And you
went.
and you weren't trying to make a lot of money off of it. You were just
No,
$10.
I wasn't. No, I was going to give it to. I was
Right.
basically,
Right.
here's a multi-million-dollar company,
Yeah.
and I was giving it away for
Yeah.
10 bucks. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I would have given it to
Of
him.
course you would have. Right.
In fact, afterwards, he wanted the cart. He goes, Ken, I want that website. And I says,
Of course.
all this, it's nothing without you. So you take it if you
Right.
want.
Right.
And so anyhow, I flew from there to China and started on doing my other things. But it, I'll tell you what,
Wow, that's a great story.
it'll take you places. One thing, I'll talk a little bit about my faith.
Sure.
It's the Bible says it's the foolish things in the world that confound the wise.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember when I first twisted my first balloon dog in a clown class, and I was a construction worker. I said to myself, this is the most useless information that I have ever attained. I don't even know what to do. This I will never use it again. I didn't think.
Right.
And yet God took that useless information and he brought me before kings. He brought me before all over the world. I got to go
Yeah.
because of that. So it starts off small. Just do what you love, and every chance you get, be ready. There was something that was my nurse told me. Fortune fortune shines, or on the prepared, basically.
Yeah.
If you're prepared at the time you're asked to do something, fortune shines on you.
Yeah.
So if you sit at home, wonder why nothing ever happens and stuff, I do a lot of things that no one has ever seen or no one
Right,
will ever see because I'm
right.
always working, always creating.
And
So,
I'm going to intervene on that too. Uh,
okay.
we're going to talk a little bit about Bling Bling Jam coming, and you won't believe what Ken created for that. It's unbelievable. But anyway, we're going. Speaking about that, it's unbelievable. But
Yeah,
Ken, with what you're saying, right? About
yeah,
the fortune and all that, and it's preparation. It's some of the story that you're saying. It's looking at what other people are doing, and you are as have been reading things, right?
yeah,
We all get better at because it comes down to people's self-esteem, what they think they're worth, what in terms of what you're saying, and what how they think that they feel confident that they can help people because the deal you made at the restaurant. Okay, the guy was dead, what it sounds like, and you wanted to be a win-win. And
yeah,
obviously, we're in a situation where you needed to make money, I believe, too. But you
yes,
went there with a genuine heart of explaining to him. But I believe you delivered that based upon what you said, that this
yes,
restaurant will be packed in a few months. Okay,
yes,
you delivered it. So you obviously must have been confident saying that to him because you had not known that yet, but you did know that because you claimed it. That's the kind
right,
of stuff we're talking about when you read, when you know what you know, what you know, and you come in that way. Some people might think it sounds cocky. Some people might think it sounds overcom. Well, that's what you have to do because we're selling ourselves. When you met your wife or spouse, you sold
yeah,
yourself to them. Same thing. Anyway, I had to say that. But I think that that's great.
yeah,
And what the woman said about having the fortune because
yeah,
obviously this is what you did. You were reinventing yourself, and the thing with Qualitex, I didn't know you had that domain. That's huge. So you must
yeah.
have really thought that through beforehand, and look at you now. So that's
Oh,
wow.
I've
Right.
used all of that type of stuff. I,
Yeah.
uh, I even the domains that I possess now, like balloonplayground.com.
Yeah.
There was a reason that I chose that because I wanted your name to be like I wanted to be able to put Bling Bling Jam at Bling Bling Jam balloonplayground.com.
Oh, wow.
Put
I love it. Yeah,
you can
connect. You want
put
to connect to people. Yeah.
awesome balloons balloon playground
Sure.
awesomeballoonplayground.com, or
Sure.
you can put just insert your own name and you've got it.
That's it. Yeah.
And it was a way for me to sell balloonplayground.com in the beginning.
Yeah.
Things change. That's all right. It'll
Yeah.
well,
But all
it's
those things that I know about what you're working on, and I know that there's different trials and errors with all those things, you're always thinking about the community
yeah,
and how you can work with them. And that's huge.
yeah,
And that's very smart. So love
yeah,
it. Love it. Tell us anything else I know, like I said, guys, there's another interview he did last year. We talked about more specific how he started with balloons and what markets he's working on. He's already kind of shared that
yeah,
story, and it's been great. And this was extra stuff too. Is
yeah,
there any? I know that I don't know that you're going out to events still now and all that, but you're working on some other things. But there's anything else you want to share about your balloon career with everybody, and or what you want to do with it before we get into like the more balloon playground and more about the balloon click and all that that you want to share with people watching this that may know you or they think they know you or they don't know you.
yeah. Well, I can share a little bit about Balloon Click.
Sure, please do.
We that started out as a wing and a prayer. It was like I was sitting at
Everything does,
home.
Ken. Yeah.
Uh, everyone was losing. Everyone lost their jobs in 2008,
Oh yeah.
2009. We were losing our homes, our jobs. We lost everything.
Yeah.
My kids lost their homes. I lost my home. There was I came from a family of electricians. I had five brothers, so we owned everything from Doney Electric to Stillman Electric to Bonsall Electric to Rasco Electric, um,
Wow.
Shepherd Electric, all of these electrical companies. Oh, Temecula Electric, Darrell. All my brothers. So I always had a job. If my job ran out, I could go work for my brother Daryl, or I could work for my brother Dennis, or I could work for my brother Bob, or I could work for Ron, or Jeff. I could work for Jeff Bonzel Electric. I could work anywhere because I had five brothers, six electrical contractors.
Wow.
So, but for the first time in life, 2008, everybody lost their jobs. There wasn't one of us that had a job. And so thank God for my son and my son-in-law. My son-in-law came to me and said, Dad, we're going to take your knowledge and we're going, and this was in July. He said, and we're going to travel the East Coast and we're going to sell Balloon Click. And I thought, that's a pretty grandiose idea. I go, I know that, when Tom Myers sent me out, I know he spent $15,000 on advertising. That was just on mail-ins. And I mean, the amount of money it would take to do this, and all of us were broke.
Yeah.
He said, no, we're just going to get in the car and we're going to go. I said, okay, let's do that. That'll probably take a couple months. He goes, not a couple months, next week.
Wow.
Next week? He goes, yeah, we don't have any money. We got to do it next week. So at that time, we didn't have Facebook. We didn't have any of these,
Right.
Instagram, any of that stuff. We had Balloon HQ. And my son-in-law would get online and he would go through every member of Balloon HQ. And Balloon HQ was just a wealth of
Yes.
information back in that day because it told us where everybody lived. God, if
Yeah.
Facebook would do that.
Yeah.
But anyhow, by knowing where they lived, he would get on the phone at night. He would call these people personally by their names. And oh, we're going to meet. And he'd set up this whole thing that we'd meet at restaurants. And then he'd say, hey, we're going to bring about 15 people into your restaurant. So could we have a room so that they could, you know, they'll all buy something and blah, blah, blah. That didn't always happen, but they would say yes. Back in that day, yeah, we were all starving. So yes,
Yeah.
we'll do it. And he'd call each of these people personally and they would show up. They would show up at this restaurant. And I was teaching like for $30 a class and we'd pack the restaurant out. We went from point A to point B. We started out many times we'd start running out of money and we go, well, I don't know where we're going to stay tonight. What's going to
Yeah.
happen? And so all of these things would happen. And even the second time around, Eric and I went out by ourselves, and that was the worst of it. I can remember we were going to end up at the World Balloon Convention at part of the thing, and we were broke. We were broke
Wow.
in the middle, and we had enough gas to get there, but no room and stuff. And Mark Byrne was looking
Yeah.
for a roommate, so we called him up. He said, "Mark, hey, we'll split the cost of a room," and he goes, "Okay," and he says, "But the thing is, you got to pay for the first night."
Yeah.
Well, because by the time we got there, we made enough money so we could pay for the second night and stuff. But
Yeah.
we flew by the seat of our pants. And by
Wow.
the vision of my son-in-law, my son, we went, we went, we toured the entire East Coast.
Right.
It was unbelievable. And
Wow.
when we got back, we
These are
had,
such great stories, Ken.
uh, you, I wasn't about to go and leave without these guys. It's good to have people that believe in you because
Yeah.
they believe more in myself than I
Yeah.
believe.
Right. Well, sure. But
And
and that's always having the right connections and people that do believe in you and
Yeah.
uplift you. And that's why you're part of Bling Bling Jam, what we do. And you
Yeah.
fit right into that. So that's who you are, Ken, and we appreciate that.
Well, I can't wait for this Bling Bling Jam. There's
Yeah.
just uh,
Yeah, tell
uh,
everybody about that, about what you're going to teach, if you don't mind, and why I think people should come, whether it's in person or virtual replays. And we so appreciate you being there. You're like a fixture at the event. And I'm
okay.
excited about what you showed me. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, wow, wow, wow. But anyway,
Okay. To give you a little taste of what's going to happen
yeah,
is that I'm looking across the web. Now, I am amazed. I am truly amazed by the Brazilians and the Chinese and all of the
different cultures. Yeah,
Mexico stuff, all all the South American stuff. I am just like, it's
yeah,
mind-boggling. The Russian stuff,
yes,
all over the world, they are just upgrading, 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 upgrading. I started at a time when there wasn't anything, and I had the ability to develop. People have built on that. They've gone way far beyond that. But
yeah,
the latest thing I would look at these creations, especially with AI creating these things.
yes,
I know they can be reproduced, but some of these things aren't AI. And
yeah,
I'm looking at them. Like I see a big balloon dome. It's a round ball,
yeah,
and every balloon is in place. They all look like they're the same size. They all. I'm just going. How can they do that?
yeah,
How does that even happen? And
yeah,
so I started an idea. I know this isn't the way they do it. There's
yeah,
a lot simpler ways.
yeah,
But I started working on something about a month and a half ago, and
yeah.
I've been over, over and over throwing stuff
It is
away.
off the hook, everybody, off the hook. But yeah,
So what it's going to be a sphere. It
yeah,
started out as a sphere because I just wanted all these balloons to fit perfectly across. Now, I have seen others do it real simple
yeah,
on YouTube and stuff. They
yeah,
just tie balloons around, and I did that too. And
yeah,
then you just put the other ones underneath.
yeah.
But this would be a sphere that I could hang from the ceiling. But
Incredible.
I didn't want it to just hang from the ceiling. I wanted to put lights in all the balloons.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to
Bling
control,
bling.
yeah, bling
Yes.
bling, to be able to control the lights that are inside the balloons.
Yep.
So we're going to work on something that hangs from a ceiling, something like a disco ball.
Yeah.
Uh, you could use this dome shape for the top of R2D2.
Yep.
Um,
Some Halloween, right? Summerween.
Halloween. So
Yep.
I'm going to create a couple columns that will have the colors of Halloween in it. Uh, your oranges and your purples and your blacks and silvers and stuff like that.
Yep.
And green. And so uh, we're going to work on things like a column that will have this disco ball on top of the column, or you can bring the disco ball and put it in the center of the column. There's
Wow.
just, I'm going to show a bunch of different uh,
Versions
versions of it,
or what to use. Yep.
and you won't believe
Yeah.
what
I
comes.
can't believe it. And you were explaining to me when I saw, I was like, wow, wow. So
Yeah.
that's exciting. Wow.
So I still am working. Now
I
I
know
want
you
you to
are. You're
know
always
that
perfecting. I
it's
know.
not done. I gotta get some
Practice
glue.
makes what? Improvement.
Yeah, improvement.
You can no, you can always better your best. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Ken, that's
So
awesome. I can't wait to see that. Now, people that was we're gonna do our best to tape the decor stuff. The decor stuff's not as easy to
okay.
do. But of course, being there is in person is better, but we will do our best to have that on the virtual replay as well.
Yes.
Guarantee, but as well. But that's great. So anything else you want to share about your class and then the last piece is why do you think people should come to Bling Bling Jam if they haven't decided yet? They still have a little time, not a lot of room. We sold out of vendor space, it's gone. So now it's just a matter of a few more people that might want to come, and some people shifted some things over. And if not, they can come next year. But just let everybody know what your feeling is.
Well, my feeling is this. I mean, I'm definitely going to be teaching something that nobody else has ever seen.
Right.
Um, and and so that in itself is something worth coming for. I basically when I teach, I don't teach a recipe of something. I'm teaching ideas and even the
Concept.
yeah concepts of the
Mhm.
cartoon balloon of this and that and that's why
Yeah.
it's taken off and everybody in the world does the things that I do. I remember traveling through Australia. I'd see my hitchhiker and I'd see my
Yes.
skate and I'd see it in a restaurant. And here I am in the middle of Australia, down in the southern part. What's the name of that place? Anyhow, uh, Perth's on one side, and there's Adelaide.
Adelaide.
Um,
Yes.
yeah.
That's where
So
what's her name is from? I'm blanking out.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I would see my
Nicole, sorry.
yeah, I would see my work there, and I'm going, gosh, it's amazing. You know, it started out at a book and it took off all over the world. And so,
Yeah.
and, and and to be honest with you, I saw Cecilia make the most beautiful stitch
Yeah.
the other.
Isn't that
I mean,
cute?
just
She's doing great.
oh, and then I saw, you know, Sam made this mushroom
Wasn't
so
that great at the Zoom that we
simple,
had? Yeah.
so simple,
Yeah.
and I just go, oh, that's what I love about everything is the simplicity of things. And Cecilia also showed us how to make a small car. Oh,
Yes.
beautiful, out of two balloons.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And
Usable
then,
stuff that makes you money.
yeah, yeah. And what was it that, oh, gosh, my mind is
That's
going.
okay.
Ah,
You on the call,
Darren,
Darren
Darren.
Borderboy, he did
And
the
he,
hand. Yeah.
yeah, he did the hands and just beautiful stuff, made it
Yeah.
so simple.
Yeah.
And these are the people that are going to be there. And these are the
And
people.
they're all making money. They
Yeah,
know, and this is deco twisting. So if you're a decorator, you want to learn how to do the twisting. We're going to show you the best because we've always
yeah,
been a deco twisting event, as you know, Ken. And
yeah.
Ken's a real deco twister. And
Yeah.
then the decor like you're showing is so unique. So
So
wow.
the value of just those people alone, but there's more than that. Those are the ones I saw because Steve showed them online, and I
Yeah.
missed the last couple ones, so I don't know who else has
Yeah.
been doing it. But the simplicity of design is the most important thing there is,
Yeah.
because if you can quickly make up something and hand it to somebody and they're just awestruck, then yeah, it's going to help your business. Really.
Oh, Ken. So well said. Was there anything else we missed before we wrap it up about anything you wanted to say? Because this was a great interview, as
There's
always.
probably thousands of things, but
I know, I know. And we're gonna do this again because you'll be back again. So
yeah.
awesome. Well, Ken, thank you so much for sharing with everybody. This was an amazing interview. I learned more stuff again today that I didn't know as well, like the Qualitex thing and that business side of things, which is great. Good information. And I hope you guys are watching this. Show Ken some love. Put a comment down, put a like. He'll be looking at that, and that always is great. It encourages us all. And please definitely check out Balloon Click and everything that Ken's working on, the Balloon Playground and all that. It's some unbelievable information. And we just want to support each other like you support the Bling Bling Jam. We want to support Ken. And that's what it's all about. When we share, we all win, right? With that said,
Yes.
and one more thing, too. The Zooms that Ken talked about, we do them once a month. They won't be in July. They're complimentary once a month for people who've never been on one before. If you've been on one before, then you must register, meaning for the replays and or Bling Bling Jam replays of our classes. It helps support the events. Events are really expensive to run right now, and you also get great value even if you can't be there. Of course, being there in person is always great because you get even more. You get that plus the get to mingle with people like Ken and pick his brain and things like that. And we're all pretty much available as well. We all like to share and live a life of abundance. With that said, everybody, let's bling it on. Thank you so much, Ken. We'll see you soon. This will air really soon, guys. Take
Okay.
care. See you soon. Bye bye.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.